from PRX.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary, it's time for the podcaster who's wearing socks that, I don't know if they're teal or I guess they're aquamarine. And you say, why, what kind of podcast starts off with a podcaster introduced? And I say, well, they also have a C for COOKIE on there. And but because, I'm going to take a meander. I don't know, do you sleep with socks or not? I'm here to empower whatever your choice is. Who out there has one sock on and one sock off? Or at least I feel like that all the time. So if you feel like that, whether your socks are on, whether your socks are off, if you feel like it's one of each, it's time for the podcast that's here for you. It's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. Hey, everybody, before we get on here, Sleep With Me is built on empathy and compassion. That means being here for you. There's links to extra resources if you need them right now in the show notes. And it means supporting the members of our community, being a part of positive change. You could do that. There's links to organizations you can connect with to say Black Lives Matter, to say Stop Asian Hate right in our show notes. One of those organizations that I've been supporting is Beam. You could support them using the links in our show notes. Thanks, everybody. And, here's the sponsors that enable me to be here for you for free twice a week. All right, everybody, Scoots here, and I have a question that I've asked before. Why would anyone support a free podcast, right? Who would pay for a free podcast? And I've always had my theories. I said, well, it's because the podcast works, and the work that goes into the podcast is what makes it work. But that really, I'm like, wait a second, that makes it about me, and it's really about you. The show is about you getting the support you need, and I'm checking in with patrons who do pay for a free podcast, because then I said, they say, well, it keeps me company. It makes me feel less lonely. I'm happy to pay for a podcast I benefit from. Those are some of the things I hear from patrons, but I want to hear from you. If you're like, well, I'm not sure about paying for a free podcast, go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. Think about becoming a patron if you're in a position to do so. You can listen to the podcast on a regular basis, and you want to pay for what you get out of the podcast, whether it's $5, $10, or $20 a month. Take a look at what we offer, because some people do it for the benefits. Story-only episodes at $5 a month, all intro episodes at $10 a month, compilations, all-night episodes at $10 a month, and then Ray episodes, Great British Bake Off bonus shows at $20 a month. And trying to figure out, is it more about the feelings, because you feel good, you feel like a rebel, paying for something you benefit from, or is it the tangible goods? You say, oh boy, I get all this extra audio. In the $10 and $20 feed, there's over 2,000 things to listen to. So I guess it comes down to you, because I am looking to get more listeners supporting the show on a monthly basis. That's one of the ways we're here for you. So think about it, check it out, and then let me know. Say, Scoots, if you did this, I might become a patron. Or, oh yeah, I didn't realize how good it feels to be a rebel with a cause. And you can see all that at sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. sleepwithmepodcast.com/PATRON. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody. Sleep With Me is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. And, throughout May and June and all summer long, Sleep With Me is proud to join the cause of destigmatizing therapy. So if you're having a tough time with relationships, you're having difficulty sleeping, difficulty meeting your goals, if you're feeling anxious or stressed, BetterHelp counselors can listen and help. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communicating in under 48 hours, and it's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional counseling done securely online. And BetterHelp's therapists have a broad range of expertise that might not be locally available in your area. It's available for clients worldwide, and it's so easy. You can log into your account anytime, send a message to your counselor. You could schedule weekly video, phone, or even live chat sessions. And BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. I've heard from listeners that have utilized it. I know people in my personal life that have utilized BetterHelp, and it's just taking that step. And I know the flexibility and the ease of use with BetterHelp has started to expose more and more people that I have regular contact with to online therapy. So many people have been using BetterHelp that they're recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. And Sleep With Me listeners can get 10% off their first month of online therapy at betterhelp.com/sleepwithme. You have to use our link to get that discount. That's betterhelp.com/sleepwithme. BetterHelp. That's BetterHelp.com/sleepwithme. That's right, everybody. BetterHelp. Thanks, everybody. Sleep With Me is brought to you by Progressive. Are you thinking more about how to tighten up your budget these days? Drivers who save by switching to Progressive save over $700 on average, and customers can qualify for an average of 6 discounts when they sign up. A little off your rate each month goes a long way. Get a quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed in 2020. Potential savings will vary. Discounts vary and are not available in all states and situations. All right, everybody, it's time for the Sleepy Supporter Zone. The one part of the podcast I need you to hear. It's where I pop my peas, if you please. I thank the listeners who took the extra steps to support the show so it could be here for everybody. And right now, I want to thank everybody that signed up for our referral program this month and got multiple referrals. And sometimes it takes sharing your link in your story or your favorite episodes on social media more than once. This is a gigantic way to help the podcast because we really grow one listener at a time. So I wanted to thank Goldie, who's really racking up the referrals. Katie, Tracy, Debbie, and Lorette. Thank you so much, Goldie, Katie, Tracy, Debbie, and Loretta, for spreading the word. You could sign up for our referral program, earn free rewards. You could even be like Cornelia, get onto our wall of fame, which hasn't even been built yet. Get ad-free episodes. So sign up at sleepwithmepodcast.com/refer, R-E-F-E-R, or if it's short 420, you could giggle and say something else. But it's a huge, huge way to help the show. So thank you so much. The second part of the Sleepy Supporter Zone is you getting the support you need. And if you're having a tough time right now, there's links to resources in the show notes you could connect with. It's about supporting the members of our community with our actions, being a part of positive change that says Black Lives Matter, that says stop AAPI hate. So use those links and resources. And the third part of the Sleepy Supporter Zone is something I support, and that's my friend Harris over at Sleep Whispers Podcast. If you're looking for another sleep podcast to check out Sleep Whispers. Sleepwhispers.com, WHISPERS. You use the link in the show notes. You can just search for it right on your podcast app. It's a podcast of whispered ramblings for relaxation and sleeping. There's meditations, interesting stories, tranquil poems, Wikipedia articles, listener feedback, so much more. Harris is always coming up with new stuff. And if you use the link in our show notes, you'll be able to see me wearing my Sleep Whispers t-shirt. So that's even better. So that's Sleep Whispers. Check it out. Give it a listen. Fall asleep to it. And that is the end of the Sleepy Supporter Zone. Oh, Mystery Bard. A lot of people help out on this show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son. Sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Kenny, Scotty, and Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at JonathanMann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mr. Bard. I'm at Dearest Scooter on Twitter and Instagram. That's where you find me. What do you say we slow it down and get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever is keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, you're thinking about from the past, the present, or the future, feelings, anything emotionally coming up for you, physical sensations, changes in schedule or time, changes in schedule or time or temperature, routine. Somebody, it could have whatever's going on. Whatever is keeping you awake, I'd like to take your mind off of that and help you fall asleep. And what I plan to do or attempt to do is create a safe place. I'm going to smooth it. I'm going to pat it. I'm going to rub it down. I'm going to say safe place. I'm going to try to send my voice across the deep, dark night here. Use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. I'm going to go off topic. I'm going to get mixed up. Then I'm going to go back. I'm going to say, wait a second. What is I like? All to take your mind off stuff so you could fall asleep. Now, if you're a regular listener, I'm so glad you're here again. I'm so happy to keep you company, be your bore friend, your bore bae, your bore cuz, your bore sib, your bore bestie. If you surf those tasty waves, don't taste the waves, by the way. I learned that the hard way. But if you surf those tasty waves, I could be your bore bra. Because he said, I taste the wave, and not when I was I wasn't surfing the tasty wave. The wave kind of came up and said, hey, let me give you a kiss. And I said, well, actually, I like the wave. Here's the thing. Well, waves, I like how you taste, but it's probably not the best idea to be tasting you on a regular basis. If you're new, I'm glad you're here. Let me give you some information because this podcast is very different than the first time, the second time, even the third time you listen to it. It could really throw you off because it's so different. So a couple of things to know. One, this is a podcast you don't really listen to. You just kind of barely observe it. Kind of like waves coming in. Like sometimes you're at the beach or you're watching a wave-based video. Wave, WBV. Or, wave-centric video. Or just a video of waves, VOW, man. Or video with waves. But whatever waves, like however you consume your waves, most of the time it's a passive or somewhat passive consumption. I mean, there's people out there, if you're swimming or in the waves, that's different. Or if you're in some sort of profession, science-based or ecology-based or bio-based, I guess that's science. Those are sciences, but, or, you work on the shoreline or your boat. Yeah, of course, everybody working in the sea, you may be observing the waves in a different way. If you just happen to be a sentient breakwater, you say, Scoots, my relationship with waves is much different. I say, well, by the way, it's great to have a sentient breakwater listening to the show. I think I've achieved my life's purpose. Keeping you, you're breaking the water. It doesn't get tougher than that. So just like if you're watching the waves, sometimes you're watching them pretty closely, but a lot of times you're just chilling. You know what I'm saying? This podcast is like that. You say, well, I'm kind of paying attention to what Scoots is saying, but I'm also not really paying attention. So that's one thing. This is also a podcast that doesn't really put you to sleep. It keeps you company while you fall asleep. And what I mean by that is that I'm here to take your mind off of stuff and barely keep you engaged while you fall asleep. That's why the shows are over an hour, to give you plenty of time to drift off. But if you can't sleep or you wake up in the middle of the night or whatever it is, I'm going to be here to the very end. So if you have some sort of, reason you can't fall asleep, I'll be here to keep you company whether you're awake or asleep. And you don't need to listen. You just could listen if you need to, right? It's kind of a reverse. Don't need to listen, but if you need to, I'll be here. So those are two new things for new listeners. Regular listeners, hello again. All the fishes out there. How about a shout out to sentient breakwaters? And if there's any sentient docks or pylons, other things in the water, I'd love to hear from you. Sentient lighthouses, send me a message. Unless you're a sentient lighthouse from a Jeff Vandermeer novel, then don't reach out to me, please. Like, definitely don't. Or buoys. Holy cow, would I love to hear from some buoys? Because then I could do I guess that could be a segment if I had a sentient podcast. This is a podcast for sentient objects in the sea. What would we call that? It wouldn't be Seacast. Script Notes, a podcast about screenwriting and things interesting to screenwriters. Buoycast would be the podcast about being a buoy and things interesting to buoys or buoy workers. But then I could say buoy, oh, buoy. How many ways could I say I love thee? Even though that doesn't exactly go with the song. I'd say, oh, buoy, buoy. I love saying that. Has there ever been a cartoon about someone who lives in a buoy under the sea? You'd say, well, I'm not a buoy anymore. I'm a artificial reef now. Okay, so sorry, new listeners. This is where I go, new listeners or nude listeners. Either way, I say, I have a tendency to go off topic. I was trying to tell you. So other things that can throw you off. So it's a podcast you don't really listen to. It doesn't really put you to sleep. Give us the good news. Oh, the structure's also very different. Show starts off with a greeting, friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So hopefully buoys and sentient sea beings, inanimate objects that have become animate in my mind, I just got to do so you feel seen and welcome. Then there's support for listeners. Then there's support for the show, for Patreon and our sponsors. Then there's the intro. So around 8 minutes into the show, the intro starts. And the intro goes around 10, 12, 15, 20 minutes. It just depends on how long it takes me to introduce the concept of the podcast. But it's basically a show within a show. And sometimes this is not about you, new listener, but some new listeners give up on it too early or they fast forward through it because it is so different. So I'd say kind of ride it out, just like a buoy rides out, whether it's calm or try to. Because what you might discover is that only 3% of regular listeners skip the intro. And then a few thousand regular listeners that support the show on Patreon, they listen in different ways, like all night playlists or story only playlists or all intro playlists. But the rest of listeners are happy to just kind of listen as it unfolds. And because one, they get to listen for free and whenever they want. But two, because the structure of the show eases you into bedtime instead of just putting you to sleep right away. Just like a lighthouse, ideally you see it far out. You say, okay, that's a lighthouse. So I know that's coming up eventually. That's what this podcast does is the intro goes on and on and on. So most regular listeners, though there's no right or wrong way to do it, they might be in bed getting comfortable, doing something relaxing, or they might be getting ready for bed, or they might just be in their room or another room doing something to unwind. And, it's playing it on their phone speaker or their smart speaker or the headphones or whatever. And that just gives you some distance between the daytime and when you're going to sleep. Because for me, there's never been an instant sleep solution. And what I found from feedback is that most people, it takes 15, 20 minutes for us to get wound down and ready, the last part of getting ready for bed to drift off. Or you could just be cozy in bed listening for 15 or 20 minutes. Hopefully, that's a lot less than whatever you were dealing with before this show. Like for me, I'd say, wow, if I could just lie in bed and listen to something nice for 15 minutes to 30 minutes, that's way better than what it was like before. So that's the intro. Then there's business between the intro and the story. That's just how we keep it free and podcast structure works. And then there's our story. Tonight will be a look at a Star Trek TNG, The Next Generation episode. But you don't need to have listened or seen Star Trek but to be familiar. I'll tell you it in a nice bedtime story way. So that's, what else do you need to know? Structure the show. Oh, the reason I make the show. The reason I make the show is twofold. One is I've been there. Tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep. And I know how it feels. It's not pleasant. So if I can help you, like with something I know how it feels that doesn't feel good, that's nice. But what's even nicer is the fact that you deserve a good night's sleep. And if I can help with that, that would be my honor, right? Like, because our world would be a better place. If you're rested tomorrow, your life is better, like even if it's incrementally better, or then if you start to get rest on a regular basis, the rest you need and deserve, maybe you could be out there flourishing, but even a little bit rested, our world's going to be a better place to live in because I want you to get the rest you need. Whether it's through this show or you find out Sleep With Me doesn't work for you, you could check out our sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. But I mean, that's my main message. I mean, I'm really glad you're here. Give the show a few tries. That's what hundreds of thousands of people have said. Hey, it takes 2 or 3 tries to get used to. So give it a few tries. I really hope it can help. I really appreciate you coming by and checking out the podcast. And I really hope I yearn and I strive. I really want to help you fall asleep. Thanks again for coming by. And here's a couple ways I'm able to be here for you free on a regular basis. Thanks. All right, everybody. You know I love my Helix mattress. It's comfortable. It fits my needs. It fits my room. And if you haven't heard the great news, Helix has left the bedroom. They launched a new company called Allform, and they're already making the best sofas we've ever seen. So why should you care about Allform sofas? I mean, comfort, flexibility, long-lasting, scratch and stain-proof. But for starters, it's the easiest way you can customize a sofa using premium materials at a fraction of the cost of traditional stores. You can pick your fabric. That includes the colors, the sofa size, and the shape to make sure it's perfect for you and your home. They've got armchairs and love seats all the way up to an 8-seat sectional, so there's something for everyone. So you could start small and add on later. And that way, your Allform sofa can grow and change with you and your family. It's also hassle-free. Allform sofas are delivered directly to your home with fast, free shipping. Allform takes just 3 to 7 days to arrive in the mail, and you can assemble it yourself in a few minutes with no tools needed. And you might say, Scoots, you sound a little bit different. You sound more relaxed. Well, that is because I'm recording from the Chase Lounge of my Allform. Oh, boy. And I love my Allform. It's comfortable. It looks good. It fits my room. But it's also our family hub. We got the popcorn popping, and we're getting ready for movie night. Sophia and I are going to spend some quality time together. Maybe even play a board game on the ottoman later. That's my pro tip. Also makes a great place to put your popcorn. And if you're saying to yourself, Scoots, that sounds great, but I'm not so sure about buying a sofa without seeing it in a store, you don't need to worry. You get 100 days to decide if you want to keep it. That's more than 3 months. And if you don't love it, they'll pick it up for free and give you a full refund. They even offer a forever warranty. That's literally forever. So to find your perfect sofa, check out allform.com/sleep. And I can see you there, just like me, kicked back right now. You have a sofa, you designed it, and it fits you and your room perfectly. But better than that, you got an amazing deal because Allform is offering 20% off all orders for our listeners at allform.com/sleep. That's 20% off all orders for our listeners at allform.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody. Has this ever happened to you? You need to see a doctor. You search, you find one that looks good. You wait on hold to book an appointment. You rearrange your schedule. schedule, and then you finally go in and you find out the doctor doesn't even take your insurance. Oh boy, that happened to me trying to find an eye doctor, but I found a solution, and that's ZocDoc. Just download the free ZocDoc app, the easiest way to find a great doctor and instantly book an appointment. With ZocDoc, you can search for local doctors who take your insurance, read verified patient reviews, and book an appointment in person or video chat. Never wait on hold with a receptionist again. Whether you need a primary care physician, a dentist, a dermatologist, a psychiatrist, an eye doctor, or other specialist, ZocDoc has you covered. Go to ZocDoc.com/sleep and download the ZocDoc app to sign up for free. Every month, millions of people use ZocDoc, and I'm one of them. It's my go-to whenever I need to see a doctor. It also gives me peace of mind when I'm traveling that I can find a doctor fast and easy and look at those verified reviews. And then I had such a great experience finding an eye doctor through ZocDoc. So much easier than any other method. They make it a breeze to read about the doctor, find out more. I use ZocDoc, and you should too. ZocDoc makes healthcare easy. Now is the time to prioritize your health. Go to ZocDoc.com/sleep and download the ZocDoc app to sign up for free and book a top-rated doctor. Many are available as soon as today. That's ZocDoc.com/sleep. That's ZocDoc.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, Scooter here. We're talking about Best of Both Worlds, the season 3 exciting end episode. The Best of Both Worlds, part 1. Wasn't there like an album, Best of Both Worlds or something? Was that a Van Halen album? Like a Sammy Hagar Van Halen album? I could kind of see a Golden Globe with VH on it. I don't know. But they start off Captain's Log 43, 989.1, Jore 4, Alouette, Jore Alouette, Jore 4, I'll be there. There's a call. They send out the away team. I call it the A team because it's, again, we've talked about this, and probably many funnier people than me have said, what the heck are you doing sending your best crew down there? But they send Data, Worf, Geordi, and Riker down, and is safe for transport. O'Brien does a really smooth, he would be good at touch, what are those called, touch pads or touch screens? He uses I've never been able to figure out those multi-finger touches on my phone or iPad, but O'Brien is good at that. Holy cow, because he just does this smooth 3 or 4 finger slide. Smooth O'Brien. Rocky Planet, accurate something. Whoosh town, weak crater, whoosh, fade and open. Let's see what the dialogue says. They're at the edge of a crater. They say they're at the center of town, but then they're at the edge of the crater where the town once was. I don't mean to quibble. I guess I didn't have the, what do you call it on there? No, I guess I do have the subtitles. Coordinates verified. You're at the center of town. Riker looks back at the crew, pulls out his, remote control, and they go to the edge of the crater. You see some pipes and some metal, and you say, center of town. Where's the town then? It's just a crater. In this case, they didn't pave Paradise and put up a parking lot. They pulled out, I don't know if it was a town called Paradise. There's a story for you, a town called Paradise. So you could name any kind of book that, huh? Yeah, then we get another, this is a really good episode, not just for the plot, but for the acting and the interpersonal stuff. 43992.6, Admiral Hansen and, Lieutenant Shelby, is that what it is? Are there, Hansen and Shelby, Lieutenant Commander Shelby, Starfleet Tactical, review the disappearance of the New Providence colony, 900 people. Then, basically saying, you're not ready. We've known Borg's on their way. put everything into it, but we're convinced it's a Borg. And, yeah, this keeps happening. Riker agrees with you. Commander Shelby took over Borg tactical analysis a while back, 6 months ago. She's got wide latitude to get things done. And that's how I intend to operate here. This is from Hansen. Nods. Shelby said, I'm trying to figure out a strategy, obviously. And they say nothing stopped him such far. Her and Riker are going back and forth. Hansen says, I was hoping for more lead time. But the Borg would indicate they have a superior power source, clearly. Everybody's got serious looks. Shelby says, I'd like to go down there. Riker says, it's going to be dark. We could go in the morning. And they say, show Commander Shelby to her quarters. Riker says, hey, Admiral, we're playing poker night. Open seat for you, Admiral. He says, another time. I got to talk to Picard. Rumor has it Shelby's played a hand of poker or two. If you want some subtext and whatever you call it. And then just a little like, at first I had a strong reaction to this Hansen because he makes a comment about Shelby. But I think like seeing it in the secondary context, well, maybe not now, but he does say when she came into tactical, everybody had this take on the Borg business, but she's really gotten us back on track. And then they have some Earl Grey out of a cone thing. She's going to be a great first officer for you. And he goes, what do you mean, first officer? I got Riker. They go, what's Riker's not going to be taking the Melbourne? No. Is it open? Yeah, Riker hasn't taken it. And I said, man, good thing I never got into this military stuff. They go, why didn't he didn't tell you he turned the job down? Well, one day he'll be a good captain. You may want to tell him that. We're still waiting for him to decide. Third time we've tried to get him, pulled out the captain's chair for Riker, and he just won't sit down. Let me tell you something, Jean-Luc. A lot of hotshots like Shelby on the way up. Riker could suddenly look like he's standing still next to them. He's hurting his career staying put. Kick him in the rear end for his own good. So this is foreshadowing in a different, unexpected way. Then we go back to Shelby's corners to talk about the Borg footprint. I want to see the magnetic renaissance, where it was damaged. I got a theory. I've reviewed the personnel. I'll be sending LaForge and Data to accompany me away. Riker says, I've already done that. And I'll be with you as well, Commander. Riker's got a little brow furrowing. She says, I appreciate any assistance you can offer. Tell me, is serving now they have this kind of breathless Shelby scene. It's interesting that there's this theme oh, it's so great to work in the Enterprise, which seems like it. She goes, is it as good as I've heard? And Riker says, every bit. She goes, good, because I'm going to convince Picard that I'm the right choice for the job. He goes, which job? And she goes, your job. Riker leans back. She goes, sorry about that. I heard you were leaving. Riker kind of smiles. He goes, you'd be first to know, obviously, since we just met. And then he says, poker, 1,700 hours, my quarters, deck 8. Be there. And she kind of looks after him, kind of like, huh. Then let's see. Oh, here's the layout of poker. Shelby, Riker, going in clockwise order. Shelby, Riker, Troy, Data, Geordi, then a space, then Wes. And it looks like they're playing a game I don't really play a lot of, like some sort of, I don't know what you call it even. A stud. That's what they're playing. Some sort of 7-card stud. How many cards do they have? Right now they have 4. And they give 5. I guess they're playing 5-card stud. I don't know. Or where you have 1 whole card. I don't know. I'll watch it play out here. I got to pause now. Wes is a youngster. Oh, yeah, he kind of, like, even Troy compliments him, and he's really showing his youth. Riker bluffs. He pushes Wes out. Now, this is one thing I find frustrating. I mean, I didn't do the math because I'm not good at math, but there's this idea of poker with pot odds, where you say, okay, if the pot's like $300, I have to put $10 in, then it's almost always worth it. Like, it would be harder to bluff someone out with that kind of pot odds, like, because you say, well, that's like pretty good odds. So I kind of feel like the pot was big enough. I don't know. I didn't really pay attention, though. But I said, come on, Wes. And then Jordy burns kind of Wes. Then she calls, Shelby calls Riker's bluff. It's a bluff. Wes is crushed. Yeah, let's run through my notes for a little while. Let's see. We get a space shot of the 2 trips. O'Brien is doing some extra prep. Well, I thought it was extra prep work, but then ends up being something else. Riker's steamy. Planet. Riker, walk with me. Body language is awkward. Classic Data. She aired. Riker v. Shelby. No doubt it is a Borg. 43995 question mark. Overhead. Enterprise. Riker and Parker. Picard. Covered all the bases. Let's talk about you via talk. Oh, Picard does this thing. Let's talk about you by talking about Shelby. Picard does a tisk, tisk, tisk sound, which is gold. He says, Will. He sits down to really get a parental with Will. What the double hockey sticks. Riker taken aback. Also a Nautilus shell I noticed. I don't know if I've ever noticed the Nautilus. Have you noticed the Nautilus? Is it a Nautilus I've noticed on Picard's desk or behind it or something? Holy foreshadowing. Then there's this amazing cut. Like, this is one of the best cuts I've ever seen in Star Trek, especially for revealing, I mean, what you're supposed to do, right? Reveal character. This is really like one of the best scenes, small moments. This cut is just so amazing. So you have the father-son kind of thing going with Riker. And then it cuts to Riker and Troy at whatever, 9 Forward or whatever the club's called. And Riker's totally kind of venting, or Deanna, like Riker, Deanna. I put, wow, I've never seen such a good cut. I mean, it wasn't, I'm not talking about editing, I'm talking about story cut. So she listens, mouth a little bit open. What do you think? Not fear, double question mark. Drive something, influence something, taking risks, lost something. I'll go through the dialogue, don't worry. Seasoned, coming to grips with, age. Oh, coming to grips with age. I'm not sure what that is. Then we have Shelby and the squad problem solving. Blue 10 looks on. Riker looks on. Blue 10, 78% incompatible or inoperable, 18 to 24 months or incomplete. I don't know. My mind, clay. Oh, everybody's trying to think of something. Their mind is, Jordy's mind's like clay. Let's call it a night. Riker raises his voice. Dismorg music, slow walk, dismissed. That's what that says. Enterprise head on. Conference in the conference room. Dispersed as cube-shaped. Described as cube-shaped. Cube-shaped. It'd say cube-shaped. It's a giant friggin' square cube-shaped. It's actually a cube. Cube-shaped, like a... It's not cube-shaped. I mean, I guess it is technically, but described as cube-shaped, it'd say... No, it's a friggin' cube. It's a friggin' cube spaceship. Doesn't like, obviously it's not good if it can fly through space. Make it so. Close out, help 6 days AM. I don't know what that says, but we'll get to it. Hanson out. So that made me think of, some reason, so there was this band Hanson, I think it was in the 90s, 3 siblings, and they had a famous song. But I always, if you're ever looking for fun and you hear that song, change the lyrics from to Tube Top. That's what I like. If I ever open Tube Town, that's what I like. Tube Top will be my top song there. Hanson out, Geordie sighs out loud, dismissed, Enterprise raising on the left, string music, Picard pacing, 210, Mark 151, hail them, no response, move to intercept, intercept us, 9.3 on screen, more string music, we have engaged the Borg. Then there's this Borg theme, I think, chanting music and a Picard close-up. And they cut to a commercial, so let's run through it up here. Let's see, they say, afraid I can't do it. You're a newcomer to the game. This is a poker game. Oh, Wesley says something about Data's card. Data buys another card. So I don't know, is this Omaha? There's two whole cards. So you get it's not a whole card. So 5... pair of deuces, stands, Riker has a possible flush, straight flush. Wesley has 3 jacks, which in a 5 card, in for 10, which is just not a good bet because of the pot odds. But Riker, he raises 100, so that's kind of sensible. So maybe Riker does know what he's doing, because that's probably, maybe the pot is like 100, so that's good. Wesley folds, and, Jordy says, Wesley, man, you got a lot to learn. Riker's bluffing. Riker's trombone's behind him, too, over his shoulder. And Shelby's willing to pay to see his card, and he's bluffing. Jordy laughs, and Shelby takes that pot. Wes looks down. Yeah, then we have the exterior shot here. O'Brien working. Riker comes in. He's like, where is everybody? They're late. Riker and Geordi, they say, no, they're already on, Tardy says, they're already on the planet. What? On whose authority? On hers. She outranks me, O'Brien says. Geordi's carrying a briefcase. He was carrying it last time down, too. So they beam down. And Data and Shelby are already doing soil samples. They say the human footprints everywhere. And they say, yeah, because we were here yesterday. Interesting results. These humans walked around and stood at the edge. And then Riker says, walk with me, Commander. She takes a deep breath and kind of makes a face. Data says, what's up with that? Early bird gets a worm. I believe Shelby aired. There's no avifaunal funicular life forms on Juret 4. So pretty good joke. But and Geordi's like, yeah, she aired for sure. Messing with Riker. She goes, yeah, Riker, weather front was moving in. I needed soil readings. He goes, what about the risk? She goes, risk? I'm doing my job. 3 hours to investigate the planet, now only 2 hours, and you're still yapping, Riker. I don't see a problem. Riker says, I expect to be notified when there's a change in my orders. She goes, noted. Do you wish to hear my report, sir? Go ahead. Yeah, it's Borg. That's our footprint, Borg footprint, no doubt about it. And then that's our first break there, maybe, I don't know, a second. Then we get an overhead left shot of the Enterprise. Borg's in space. Admiral Hanson went back to Starbase 324. Lieutenant Shelby on board. To help with tactical prep. Yellow alert, that's what Picard says. All outposts are ready. Long-range sensors monitored. Data, LaForge, and Crusher are going to work with Shelby. Good job, Will. We covered all the bases. What's your impression of Shelby? She knows her stuff. Full confidence? Well, she needs some supervision, though. Takes initiative too quick with risks. Packard Tisk. Sounds like somebody I used to know. First officer, maybe, perhaps. And he says, Will, what up with that? Like, what are you doing here, man? He goes, sir, could be captain of the Melbourne. Yeah, I'm not pursuing that commission. Fine ship, Will. Yeah, not the Enterprise, Captain. With all due respect, you need me now, and I need to be needed. Indeed. But Starfleet needs good captains. Foreshadowing. Reconsider your decision. Riker's taken aback. You tell me to leave? I say, look at it objectively, son. Well, you're ready to work without a net. Positive foreshadowing. You're ready to take command. And as you know, the Enterprise will go along fine without you. And then that's when the cut is. And he says, what am I doing? I pushed myself hard, Deanna. Why am I turning these things down? Sacrificed a lot. I don't know why I'm doing this. What's holding me back? She goes, what do you think, very counselor? He says, I don't know. Let me lean on. Maybe I'm afraid of the big chair. She goes, nah, not that. He goes, Captain says Shelby's like I used to be, brash, and he's right. Drive, ambition, impatient, risky. What happened to all that with me? I liked that when I was like that. I've lost something. And she goes, well, you're older, more experienced, seasoned. And that's when he says seasoned. You can't say seasoned. That means I have gray hair or whatever. She goes, give me a break, dude. He goes, you haven't lost a thing, Will. You've gained more than you realize, more than words, more comfortable. Maybe I'm too comfortable then, he says. And she goes, you're happy here, happier than I've ever known you to be. Takes a drink, and she goes, a simple question. What do you want, Will Riker? And he says, good question. Then this is when they're brainstorming, like plans for the Borg. Shelby and her crew of Geordi, Data, and Will. Decentralized, redundant power sources. Reasonable conclusion. Each member can interface and function collectively. Their ships are made the same way. You take one day, one out, another one comes in. This ship could, 78% inoperable. It could still operate. And Geordi says, I don't think these new weapons can even be ready in 18 months. And she says, 24 months. And they say, anything, Geordi? He says, I don't know. I got to look through these specs, but on my mind's clay right now. Will says, mine too. It's past my bedtime. Shelby's like, hey, come on. And then that's when Riker says, call it a night. That's an order. We need to rest. She says, well, I could work with Data. He doesn't require rest. He goes, you require rest. They say, well, what about the Borg? And he goes, I don't want a crew fighting the Borg that are fatigued, dismissed. And they have a showdown. She does a slow walk off, and everybody's making faces. Then we see a head-on Enterprise. Then we have a meeting, a phone call with Hansen, Sentinel Miner 4, freight run, 22 hours and 12 minutes. Starbase 157 was sent out a signal. Then the Lalo something said cube-shaped object. And distress signal ended and hasn't been heard from since. Cube-shaped. They say, Data, how far is that? Warp 9, 1 hour, 17 minutes. Make it so. And they say, we got every starship coming, but it's 6 days out, so good luck with everything. Picard says, we'll keep them occupied till you arrive. I know you will. Hansen out. Battle stations. What's the status of our preparations? LaForge's got an idea of a shield modulation. EM base emitting frequency, subspace fields. It's worth a shot. I don't know if it's going to work, but it's the best we could do. And he says, all right, dismissed everybody. Picard sits alone, thinking, and get a decent long shot. Then the Enterprise is flying. Picard's on the bridge, pacing, arms are stiff. And that's when the console beeps goes, identifying unidentified object, sensor range 210, 151. Hail them. No response. Intercept them. Aye, sir. It's already changed course to intercept us. It's already been brought in at 9.3. Enter visual range on screen. And we see a space cube, what could only be described as a space cube, a Borg, magnified. Picard says, dispatch a message to, Hansen. We've engaged the Borg. Bum, 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 bum. Then we have kind of a face-off, hailed, and we get a call in. Is this the same ship? These are all good questions. All Borg speak as one. Picard raises his voice. They say, Captain, you're being hailed. I am? Yeah, by name. Is it the same ship from J25 data? Uncertain, Commander. Dimensions are the same, though. He says, yo, I'm Captain Jean-Luc, and they interrupt him. Jean-Luc, Enterprise, Commander. This is all the Borg. Lower your shields and prepare to transfer yourself aboard our vessel. If you don't cooperate, we're going to be not happy. And then Picard raises his voice, withdraw immediately, yo. And they say, you surrender yourself, Picard. We got you outmatched. And Picard says, hang up on him. He turns around to Worf. He says, hang up on him. And they say, what the heck? What are they doing? And then he goes back. He says, by the way, we got new capabilities and you better withdraw. And Geordi says, they're probing us, man. I'm trying to block it. And at first the block works, but Worf says they're locking on to us with their tractor beam. So they go into full action mode. Shield status, holding, working so far. But they can adapt, And then things start to get rocky. Shield modulation failed. They've locked on. Shields are being drained. 90%, 80%. Got to recalibrate. Darn it, Geordi says. Shields have failed. They say fire everything you got at the Borg and nothing works. And then they say new frequencies did not work. Try to go in reverse, full reverse. And Geordi says we're stuck. Picard says send more stuff their way. Try that phaser spread thing. Still not working. Then the Borg send a laser to the thing. Outer hull breach in engineering, of course. Geordi does a total roll move out of engineering, which is pretty cool. He gets everybody out first. He's the last to go. Seals main engineering. Then they say, fluctuate the things. Don't give them time to adapt. And that actually ends up working. Data takes out the tractor beam. And Picard says, hit it, warp 9, 151, 330, engage. And they head towards the Borg and then peel off to the right. The Borg are pursuing. Geordi comes up on the bridge, gets back to work, maintain course, damage report. We got it. They busted the hull. It's not good. 19 out, repair. Let's get that repaired. And Geordi says, I can work on it now. Then we'll see a Pulsar Nebula. Picard goes, okay, interesting. Who dropped to impulse? And he steps up to the front. He even says, step aside. He goes, take us into that Pulsar then. And they go into this like purple blue nebula, which is pretty cool. Field's dense. Guard says steady as she goes. Cool clouds. Analysis of nebula clouds data. Dilithium hydroxyls, magnesium, chromium. Should be a good hideout place. Our sensors can detect them, but they can't detect us for some reason. So they're in this cloud, really good effects or paint, whatever it is. I don't know if it's a painting or what, but really looks good. Enterprise does, oh no, that was already. They're trying to find us. Picard says good because while they're looking for us, they can't bother anybody else. So let's hide out for a while. Then they do a review of the battle and they say, okay, what worked and what didn't. Let's watch it in slow-mo. 2% drop in their power for an instant, system-wide, in the high band. Data says maybe they're vulnerable to that. They said, well, we got to generate a burst of power in that same frequency. And I mean, a lot, Jordy says. They say, how would we do that? Will says main deflector dish. It could do that, but one slight downside. It would also mess up the Enterprise. Will says, what if we could do it from a distance or something? Shelby says, maybe. But let's retune the phasers for the time being. And Will says, I'll talk to the captain. And Shelby says, maybe we should split the ship up. And Riker says, too much of a risk. And she goes, well, I'd like to talk to the captain. And he goes, I talk to the captain. And he goes, that will be all. And he goes a little bit too far, I think, there. And Shelby and Data walk off. And he says, Geordi, you got to work on that deflector. Going to take a day or two. And they say, well, she's a formidable presence, but I'm convinced she can help us, Geordi says. And Riker says, don't worry about it, okay. Then Will rings to Picard's door. Shelby's already in there. Says, come on in, number one. Commander Shelby was telling me of your concerns about her plan. And he goes, sorry about that. I told her chain of command. And he goes, yeah, I agree. Not the time to discuss that. But maybe it's an idea. We may be required to take greater risks down the road. So maybe fall back to that plan. And he goes, make the preparations. Now Riker's not happy at all. I mean, he hasn't been happy all this episode. They go into the pulsar lift. And he gets like, he says, halt. He goes, we have to have a conversation here. She goes, you never ordered me not to tell the commander. He goes, disagree with me, fine. Take it to the captain, fine. But through me, goes, you run an end around me, and I'll snap things like a rubber band on a first-year cadet. She goes, can I speak frankly? You're in my way. He goes, really? That's tough. And she goes, you just play it safe. And I suppose that's why you're comfortable being in the shadow of a great man. And she goes, take me to deck 8. And he goes, Will says, when it comes to the ship and crew, you're darned right I play it safe. And then she says, if you can't make the big decisions, make room for someone who can. He kind of glares at her, but she walks off. And then we see, like, kind of zoom on, like, stressed out Will. Then we're back in the dust cloud, 433996.2, Borg in position, waiting for them. No explanation of their interest in me. Still working on it. Special interest. Tonight I'm like, maybe our no defense could be adequate against them. Speakers walk in the decks, goes into 9 forward or 10 forward, whatever it is. And this is a great scene, too, because Guinan's kicking back in the back, kind of waiting for him. She goes, can't sleep, buddy? And he goes, kind of, But it's my tradition, patrolling the ship before the big day. And she goes, I thought that was a tradition with lost causes. If I remember it correctly, he goes, not all of them. Admiral Nelson or somebody, Trafalgar. And she goes, yeah, but what about Nelson, who big farmed it, right? And Picard goes, yeah, but the larger goal. She goes, well, what about the larger goal here? Picard goes, I don't know. It's conceit, but I think we could do it, maybe. Healthy one. And he goes, what about, all these things fall, Romans, Lighthouse at Alexandria. He goes, they knew there was a time before the end of their thing, just another page in history. And he goes, there's this turn the page. He starts singing that song. She goes, this isn't the end. She starts singing that one. He goes, you're pretty assured. She goes, I got experience. She goes, we had to, deal with the Borg. We spread out and did our best. She goes, you'll get through it. As long as there's a handful of you to keep the spirit alive, you'll prevail, even if it takes a millennium. Picard isn't exactly comforted by that. Then the ship starts to rock, and they call him back to the bridge. We actually see something that looks like an air doctor with a 3D chess on top, or 4D chess. And they get back. Guinan's face at the end is really good. There's like a 3 or 4 second shot. Her reaction. They go, we got some sort of meteorology going here. Magnometric guided charges from the cloud, maybe. Status of shields, 40%. He says, LaForge, you're going to have to take us out of the nebula. Engines are ready. Engage. Adjust to shield harmonics. Acknowledged. Deck 9 took a hit. Damage report. Latching systems mess up. They go, get us out of here. Fire up the engines. Half impulse, and then get ready. Punch it to 9 once we're out of the cloud, and get ready. Engage. They head out of the cloud. Borg pursues. Tractor beams trying to lock on. Fire at will. Work on the rotating, thing. They get the rocket and back and forth. Tractor beams locked on. Then a Borg comes on board. Total, thing. He's got his moving things, but Worf takes him out. No problem. Then another one appears. Worf tries to take that one out, but it's got a shield. So they've already adapted. Will goes up to it. It throws Will. Then Worf jumps the bridge, takes Worf out. And then they say, hey, Captain Picard, can you just come with us? Let me give you a little hand-holding and fly back to the ship with us, which they do. Everyone transports off, and then Riker and Worf wake up. Captain's gone. Worf does some things. Borg ship's disengaging, leaving at warp speed. Riker's, he's got bedhead. He says, maintain pursuits. It's flying like 9.6. They say, okay, we'll keep it going, man. Stay with them. They say, well, Brian, can you find the captain on that ship? Nope, some kind of interference. And they say, okay, everybody, let's talk. Direct course, sector, they're headed towards the Terran system. Sector 001 Earth. And there's a zoom on Riker. Then we see Picard on board the Borg ship. He's walking with a couple Borg, just getting a little tour poo and seeing, hey, every Borg's a little bit different, eh? And Picard just says, interesting. Then he stands in front of the Borg hall. They say, Jean-Luc Picard, you lead the strongest ship in Federation. You speak for your people. He goes, no, I don't. I'm resisting you. And they say strength is irrelevant. Resistance is futile. We're improving ourselves with your distinctiveness, and you're going to have to adapt. Picard goes, impossible. We believe in self-determination. They say freedom is irrelevant, determination's irrelevant, comply. Picard goes, we don't comply. We big farm. They go, big farm is irrelevant. Archaic culture is authority-driven. We're going to introduce you to our society. And you're going to be the human voice that speaks for us in all communications, just like SIRI or ALEXA. Then we see Enterprise racing after the Borg ship. They're headed into our defenses, but we won't be able to keep up for much longer. We got about 3 hours. We can keep up with them. 2 hours, 40 minutes and 3 seconds. Deflector's almost ready. I'll get it done, Geordi says, but we're going to have to slow him down to do it. And we won't be able to use the warp. And then Riker says, well, I'm going to go over there and get the captain back. Crusher, he goes, you and Geordi work on it. Shelby, you're in charge of the ship. Data, Worf, Doctor, you're with me. Shelby goes, well, I should go. And Picard goes, or Riker goes, that's my orders. And then Troy says, actually, no, it's inappropriate. Beverly's watching the whole time in the back. She goes, you're in command of the Enterprise. That's too risky. Your place is on the bridge, William Riker. So Riker gruffs it. He says, Commander Shelby, you'll lead the away team, I guess. Make it so. She goes, darn tootin'. So she heads off with the away team. Riker kind of sits in a grouch, just close up on him. Then we get a first officer's log. Yeah, we're pursuing the Borg, core of the Federation. This is not good. Worf is like, I got the phasers tuned up. So it's Worf, Data, Beverly, Crusher, and I keep wanting to say Pulaski, but Shelby. And they said, what are we going to expect? The Data goes, well, it's different. They ignored us when we were there last time. So I don't know. I don't think they care about us. They don't consider us anything. Shelby goes, until we start interfering, then we'll see. They head out to energize out. Beverly puts her hands behind her back. I thought that was cool. Not the whole time, though. They get 58 minutes. You got to slow them down somehow. No one's necessary risks. You got that? And then they say, okay, we're ready for transport. Shelby out. They go into the Borg ship. They do some scanning. It's inconclusive. There's a lot of lights pulsing up and down. Cloud walking. And we see a lot of the different Borg beings. They're kind of trying to find, what they could do. And just getting a lay of the ship, looking up at the lights, walking tentatively. You got tricorders, they got beamers, a couple Borg walk by. They look at them. I mean, Beverly Crusher's like, what in the heck? She says, would you believe it? Oh, she goes, oh, wait a second. There's these nodes up on the ceiling. And they say, yeah, those are waveguide conduits. That's what allows them to work collectively and perform the ship functions, not wireless. They go, if we could take some of these out. And then Crusher goes, what if we see this from the furry friend's point of view? And Data says, interesting metaphor. He goes, yeah, if you have to, you got some fur, you got to comb it. Everyone says, what? And they say to slow them down. Oh, okay. If they have to comb their fur, they'll have to slow down the ship. So they keep looking. They find more of the nodes that are distribution nodes, which are green, versus the other nodes, which are red. Then Worf finds the captain's communicator. They try to call him. He doesn't answer. The Worf says, I think I can locate it this way. Then we go back to Riker's on the call with Hansen. They go, we got everybody at Wolf 359 podcast shout out right there. Check out Wolf 359 podcast. They say, yeah, 22 minutes, bring them out of warp. We'll do what, we'll do what we can before we disengage. What about Picard? No idea, nothing. And then we go back to the ship. They're tracking it down, and they find this giant drawer. And Worf says, in here, and the only thing in the drawer is his shirt and his communicator, maybe his pants. I don't know. I didn't look. It's coming up right now. Let's see. Maybe his pants are folded underneath it. No, just his shirt and his communicator. They say, oh boy, Shelby to Enterprise. We found the uniform and the communicator. We're going to keep looking. Geordi and Will come up. We got it. We're ready. They go, we're going to have to clear out parts of the ship. This is really good teamwork. Troy says, I'll handle that. And this is 17 minutes. Get him out of warp to the away team. Shelby out. She says, okay, let's get rid of these nodes, which are just like, transmission hubs or something. They're pyramidical. Data takes a shot at it. He needs Worf's help. Kind of like Ghostbusters. It takes two of them. They take one out, lights go out, they go back on. But then some of the Borg, then they take another one out. The Borg have to leave their workstations to go work on it, I guess. So let's see, they took two out, so then three out. Very dramatic. The ship has to go to impulse. They get ready. They start diverting the power to get us within 40,000 kilometers, match velocity, arm the sequences and stuff. Get ready, get your modulations. Then we're back on the Borg ship, and we get a little action sequence. Data has to say goodbye to one Borg, then another Borg. Worf goes, then three, then four. Shelby says we're encountering resistance 5, 6, 7 Borg, and then they adjust to get the shields. So pretty long action sequence. And then we see, after they take out the seventh one, the one has the shields. So they start approaching with shields. They say, okay, they're adapting. We're going to have to get out of here. And Beverly sees Jean-Luc Picard's profile. He turns, Shelby gasps, Worf, has a pet voice, almost like he says, Captain. Then that's when Shelby gasps, and he turns it from profile. He's a little pale, but then he has like a laser eye pointer, Batman abs on, and a black turtleneck, and like motorcycle gear. And Worf goes to talk to him, and he gets he bumps into a shield, and then they say, get us off the ship. And they beam him back. They go to the bridge, and they say, the captain, we were unable to retrieve him. He's been altered by the Borg. Riker says, altered, and then Worf says, he is a Borg. Shelby goes, we can go back with more people. We'll get him out of there. Geordi goes, we're ready, and they're getting ready to start the ship again. They're restoring power. Riker has to say, he goes, is it ready? And they go, it's ready. And they go, but Picard's on the ship. We might be able to get back. He goes, this is our only chance. If they go back into warp, we can't do anything. Even Shelby's like, what about the captain? He goes, we don't have time. Prepare to fire. She goes, call Hansen. And he goes, belay that order. He goes, there's no time. They go, sir, we're being held by the Borg. And he says, on screen. He goes to the front, and who's there but Locutus of Borg, a.k.a. Picard. He walks a slow walk towards the camera with his abs, his turtleneck, and his laser pointer. Stiff, I'm Locutus of Borg. Resistance is futile. And he goes, this is it. You're toast. And he goes, from this time forward, you're going to work for the Borg. And he even uses his laser pointer, points his laser. there's like a series of great reactions. I mean, really good. Like first Worf, then Troy. Before that, there was a couple other reaction shots. Riker, Shelby. Riker takes a breath. We see his steely eyes. He goes, Mr. Worf, laser it up. And the episode comes to a close. But don't worry. We know, I'll just tell you, it's going to be fine. So don't worry at all. Plus, little cutest is a cute little thing. So and then everybody took a little break and got cozy. They had a sleepover in 10 Forward where they had some Simone. What are they called? Not Simone's. What are those things called that you make with the marshmallows and the samosas? No. Why can't I even think of those? You have them. Whatever those things are called that you have. I don't like them, so that's why I can't remember the name of them. I don't know. Why don't I like them? Because graham crackers are a little dry for me. I don't eat a lot of chocolate. What are those called? Samosas? They're not called samosas. S'mores, that's what they're called. We'll be back soon with some more of this two-parter. Good night. I want to thank everybody who became a patron recently. I want to thank Rosie, Stephanie, and Amber. Thank you. Thanks. And a good night. Hope, Devin, and Dean. Thank you. Thanks. And good night. Denise, Jessica, and Jennifer. Thank you. Thanks. And good night. Kaylin, Annie, and Cody. Thank you. Thanks. And good night. Leo, John, and Scott. Thank you. Thanks. And good night. Nita, Matthew, and Deirdre. Thank you. Thanks. And good night. Mimi, Aaron, and Angela. Thank you. Thanks. And good night. Lily, Jessica, and Diana. Thank you. Thanks. And good night. Heather, Laura, and Ellie. Thank you. Thanks. And good night. Josh, Melita, and Beth. Thank you. Thanks. And good night. Clemen, Stephanie, and Evan. Thank you. Thanks. And good night. Kaylee, Caitlin, and Colin. Thank you. Thanks. And good night. And Mark and Ashley. Thank you. Thanks. And good night. Thanks, everybody, for supporting the show. On Patreon, Sleep With Me exists a free podcast because people that support the show. Patreon are supporter sponsors, and we grow as a podcast. But people really just spreading the word about podcasting in general is a huge help to the show. And then, you could specifically, I'll tell you more about the referral program coming up, but just letting people know about podcasts, showing them how to use a podcast app. You don't even need to mention Sleep With Me. Thanks and good night. Hey, everybody, before the episode, or after that, I'm here after the episode saying, hey, if you get a lot out of the podcast and you say, well, Scoots, I want a free way to support the show. A free way to support the podcast is to go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/refer. You can earn cool audio rewards. You could even win a set of sleep phones, but it's just a great way to support the show. Bring new listeners on. You just share your special link on social media and you get new people to sign up for the show. It's a huge help for the podcast and you get some sweet rewards. It's sleepwithmepodcast.com/refer. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/REFER. Thanks, everybody, and good night.